So, for my first real educational video, we're going to talk about bad political journalism because there is a lot of it. You have a lot of journalists who will not challenge politicians. They may ask a follow up, they may do a quick fact check, but if the politician, I don't know, like say Donald Trump, continues to lie, they eventually just roll with it and move on. And what I'm here to say is that that is wrong. That a lot of these networks will give extreme leeway to their guests. They will let them lie. They may fact check them, but if they continue to lie, then they just kind of move on. If the guest says something offensive towards the host or about the host, uh, they just take it, which is ridiculous. If somebody came into your home and acted the way that some of these Republican politicians act on the news, you would remove them from your home. So, like, it makes no sense. The way Trump acted during the town hall, what he put that poor woman through, like, it really is a problem. And then the politicians who say the most outlandish, ridiculous, and false shit get the most attention from the media because that gets the most ratings. And that's the other problem with our news today. Our news is ratings based. I've worked at a news station and we would have quarterly meetings to go over our ratings. And I was just an editor, right? So like it makes no uh, uh, um, it makes no sense to let these politicians come on, insult your intelligence as a broadcaster, as a journalist, insult your viewers' intelligence, and then to just let them continue to lie and let them continue to insult you and let them continue to just do whatever they want. They are in your house. That channel, that station is your house. You spend 40 plus hours a week there. So there is no reason to give guests extra leeway. And there is no reason, like, when a host actually does their job, that they have to then go out and apologize and get crap from the station. That's ridiculous. It really comes down to, if a politician is going to come on there and lie, and then you fact check them, and then they lie some more, and then you fact check them and they still lie, well then, you know what, you end the interview. And you say, you know what, this is our house, you are a guest on our channel, on our station, and if you want to insult our intelligence and the intelligence of our viewers, well then we are going to end this interview and you will not be invited back on this station. That is what they should do. But again, you, even working in local news, like, there is a fear. You don't cross certain people, especially in local politics, because then your station gets cut out of the loop. So there could be some of that too, but honestly, at a certain point, there's hundreds of members of the House. There's 100 members of the Senate. Someone will talk to you. If you break a few rotten eggs, who cares? And so that is one major problem in journalism. The other major problem is what gave us Trump. You cannot give attention to the most outlandish, ridiculous person. Like, yeah, if you're at a presidential debate and a clown is on stage juggling flaming bowling pins, yes, that's way more entertaining and interesting. That doesn't mean that that clown should run for president. And so stop covering the clown show. Just stop. Ignore it. Ignore it. They have nothing other than their ads and their crappy social media accounts if you ignore it. You are the media. You decide what is worth informing the public over. And if somebody is just going to spread hate and misinformation and fascist BS, well, then you don't have to give them time on your airways. In fact, if we really look at the history of the airways, your local channels, the over-the-air channels, are supposed to operate with the interests of the public at heart because they are the public's airwaves. And like I went to broadcasting school, we learned the history of this stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of bad journalism out there. And also let's talk about fake news real quick because what drives me nuts a lot of the time is people just throw that word around. And there is fake news. I've made fake news. Fake news actually exists and I've made it. But it's usually like made like a fake social media news page, and it's run by some organization related to a political action committee or a campaign, and they'll have some name that sounds very like local and down homey or whatever based on where you live, and they'll just say whatever, and every story on there pretty much is just designed to service whatever campaign or blah 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 political ends they're trying to meet. So like fake news does exist, but that's mostly on social media. Obviously, Fox News are just unapologetic liars, Newsmax, that OAN dipshits, RSBN, blah, 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 all these other assholes. Obviously, those are just Republican propagandist shills, but like there is legitimate news. A lot of times I see people calling their local news fake news or propagandists, and I can tell you from experience that is not the case. Just like any other job, I mean, we'd all like to think that doctors and lawyers and people who work in news and are tasked with informing us are above what we do as normal people, but they are also normal people. And so, just like anyone else, the producer who writes your news, the talking head doesn't write. The talking head shows up, does their makeup, and then goes out and reads the news. The producer writes the news, and the producers generally feel overworked, underpaid, underappreciated. Sound familiar? And literally any job in America. So So like, yeah, they're not pushing fake news. They just don't give a shit. Like anyone else at any other job, they're doing the bare minimum to keep their job and nothing more because they ain't getting paid more for more. So your local news is not spreading fake news unless maybe if it's Sinclair, they do some shady shit. But for the most part, no. Your local script station is probably just, undermotivated in certain areas, especially like if you watch weekend news, like any weekend news broadcast, that is not the B team, that is like the C or D team. So always keep that in mind too. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to go over what some of the bad journalistic things I see happening and how we as media cannot let politicians just walk all over us. We can't let the talking heads control the narrative because they have motivations. You work for a campaign, you work in politics, you come up with the catchphrases. You have hours of meetings where you just come up with the catchphrases and how to sell them and how do we say this and make it sound not like that and whatever. They will go on there with their and that's the other thing. Don't let them do what politicians do. I almost skipped this one, so let me just touch on this real quick. One of the biggest things is there's a saying in politics: don't answer the question that you're asked. Answer the question that you wish you were asked. And you see politicians do this all the time. Anytime a news reporter asks a politician, what's your thoughts on the way McCarthy negotiated the debt ceiling? Let's say they're asking another Republican, and the Republicans' goal is to cover for McCarthy. Well, that Republican might say something along the lines of, well, the important thing to focus on here is how Biden came in and said he wasn't going to cave, and he caved. The shifting the conversation, shifting the narrative. There's some politicians who do this really well. I know one locally that is like, if you were to design a robot in a lab to always politically properly answer a question, that's this person. And yeah, it is a skill, it is an art, but it is very common. And journalists need to call that out and not let that happen. And if they won't answer your questions, then you end the interview and you boot them off your channel. And if your boss has a problem with it, I mean, that's the problem, really. The problem is everyone's got a boss. And if the GM ain't happy with it, well, then you might be out of a job. But these are the things that need to happen. The media is important when it comes to understanding politics, understanding what's going on in our government in real time, the day of. And they need to start calling out the politicking when there's an important issue that they have a question. Cut them off when they start politicking. No, I have an important question about an important topic. Now answer that, and then you can politic once you've answered my question. But yeah, these are some of the things to look out for when it comes to bad journalism in politics. So thanks for checking out my video. I hope you liked it. If you did like it, hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell notification so that you're updated when I upload a new video. Hit that thumbs up, give me a like, leave a comment if there's anything you'd like me to cover. Again, if you watch my little intro video on the channel, it kind of vaguely goes over my experience, which is vast in politics and media. And I love answering questions and debunking the bullshit. So leave a comment, leave a question, and I will do my best to get back to you. And maybe even just make a whole video about it. So thanks for checking out the video. I'll see you in the next one.